Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Welcome to Classical Rebellion.
Let's get to know...
Delta variations, quotation marks.
Getting to know Wagner.
Getting to know Wagner.
Getting to know Richard.
Richard. Thank you.
I like to think of him as Dick Wagner.
Dick Wagner. Old Dick Wagner. You know Dick Wagner.
Oh, everybody knows Dick Wagner. But how well do you really know him?
That's true. We're getting to know him. We have to...
This is not the most in-depth dive.
We might have to rein ourselves in because we tend to go down the back alleys of the composers.
This is the Das Rheingold preliminary evening of getting to know Wagner. So, this is, where we set the stage for the mythology and of the operas and of the man himself. And you just, for those of you who see Wagner as like a monumental sort of statue that has to be revered, and never really get to...
You're right.
And that's the way, he probably wanted to see himself. But, there's a man there and a life of accomplishment that is unique in...
It's interesting you say that, posterity. Because initially, posterity was not his goal in life. Cultural revolution was his goal in life. So the idea, the original idea for the ring cycle, as I understand it, is it would be performed once in a temporary setting, and then you go fucking do it.
Well, this is the man.
That's go restore nature, unchain yourself from the industrialists, and fuck the aristocracy. That's the ring cycle.
And this is also the man who stood in the glow of the flames of the burning of the opera house, in Dresden, and said, "This is theater," during the Revolution of 1848, which got kicked him out of the country.
Yeah, that's one thing about Wagner that I admire. There's not a lot to admire about the man.
Not a very nice guy.
But I do admire the authenticity of actually shots fired in a revolution. He followed it,
self-centered,
to action,
egotistical, relatively anti-Semitic,
rabidly, even for his day and age.
Even though, having said that, he employed Levi as his principal conductor. So
he had a.
It's like,
but they had strange relationship. Everyone had a strange relationship with Wagner, the man.
But and this is a guy who, when he got the job at in his first position as the director of an opera house, had never conducted an opera. He walks in and does Don Giovanni.
Yeah,
he learned it. He did it. He conducted it. He went on. He started writing his own operas, and you can argue that his early operas are not the revolutionary work. Try writing an opera.
Yeah.
Try writing one.
Yes.
He wrote a damned opera. And then he followed it up with more operas. And then he followed it up with an entire mythology. And then he built a theater. This guy was a powerhouse.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
A powerhouse.
He's on the level of Da Vinci or Michelangelo. That kind of a polymath.
Yeah.
When you look at what he did, theatrically, libretto, literarily, and artistically, and musically, and culturally.
Difficult person, but I guess are his personal difficulties greater than the difficulties that he faced in actually producing the works of art that he produced? That was pretty difficult, but he did it.
That's one thing, yeah.
And he wrote his own poetry too.
Yeah.
He wrote the poetry. He composed the music.
He wrote the stage direction.
He wrote the stage directions, and he got the theater built to do it in too. So this is the guy is amazing. If you want a really good, there are many biographies, because Wagner as a man is as political as he is musical. So there's a lot to say about him. The world has been writing about him ever since he was there. And
I think he's the most written about figure since his death. Like, no one's been written about more than Wagner.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Hitler runs him a little. But actually, to be honest, there's probably a lot less to say about
If you're writing about
Hitler.
Hitler, you're writing about Wagner.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair. They would never have coexisted.
No, but I'm saying if you're writing about Hitler, you're mentioning the influence of Wagner.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. You're writing about Wagner as well. As well.
Yeah,
that's true.
As well. That's what I meant.
And also, there's a lot less to say about Hitler than there is to say about Wagner. Hitler actually produced less.
That's the thing. Hitler, it's clear. Bad. You could say, well, you reorganized Berlin. Okay.
Okay, he built some highways.
Yeah. But Wagner, it's because you don't like the guy. I don't know if anyone liked him.
Cosima liked him.
I guess. But what he produced is so it's the saint and sinner. It's a duality. It's what Wagner is, a duality. He's yin and yang. He's light and darkness.
He's his own worst enemy and his own best friend.
Yes.
And
so with Hitler, it's just
there's so much
clear cut.
There is so much to say about Wagner. So if you want to get to know Wagner to start with, there's that wonderful biography that you read and I read.
Yeah, Being Wagner.
Called Being Wagner by
Simon Cowell, the actor.
Simon Cowell, the actor.
He's done a one-man show called Being Wagner, and then he turned it into a book.
Crawled inside of Wagner's head and inhabited his history. It's entertaining. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it. I read a short biography years ago. I wish I could remember what it was. It was very good. Gives the outline of his life. But personally, I think Callow's life is more psychologically insightful now.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that. When we talk about Wagner, everybody knows The Ring. I mean, everybody knows sort of.
When I think about Wagner, I think of The Ring, and that's like it's its own thing. And then I think of the rest of his work.
Oh, that's very much true. But what I'm saying is there is so much more.
Oh yeah.
Music
history pivots on the Tristan chord. There's before and after, literally.
Yeah, that's true. That
unresolved dissonance that is not resolved
just keeps
for
unfolding
5 more hours.
Keeps unfolding from 5/7 chord to 5/7 chord to 5/7 chord. It's like a flower that's blooming and blooming. In the Liebestod,
it finally. You think you're going to get there in the second act when they're about to know each other, but they get interrupted. It's
so. First of all, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but there's a lot to say.
Yeah.
So, a great way to, I think, to start.
Let's just start at the beginning.
With Wagner is with his Symphony in C.
Okay.
That's a great piece.
It is. I wish it would be performed.
Let's listen to a little bit of it.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is.
It's I have always enjoyed listening to that piece, and I find it strange that it's not done more often.
I know.
It's a really good piece.
Yeah.
And it's very approachable and very friendly. It's exciting. Mm-hmm. It's a fun piece of music. So you got the Symphony in C. You've got Die Feen, which is his early opera, The Fairies, the early opera a la Vapor, more or less.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's even Das Liebesverbot, which is an even earlier opera, I think.
Is it?
And it's
either the first or second.
It's supposed to be a comedy or something. I've never seen it. I know virtually nothing about it.
And then Rienzi.
This was when he was, he wrote this while he was...
The Roman man of the people.
In his first opera job. And he writes this mammoth opera. Mammoth. And it's a huge hit. A huge hit. The overture to Rienzi is really fun. great stuff.
Yeah.
I have never seen it staged. It's not very often done. It's kind of
very few recordings even.
Rienzi is Wagner's William Tell.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
A mammoth opera that doesn't get done very much because it just puts people 6 feet under, who try to do it. It's so big, it's really almost impractical.
Right.
So, Rienzi set, like you said, the Roman man of the people.
Which is why Hitler sees himself as Rienzi, according to Hitler.
And then,
that's the most influential of all of Wagner's works. That's the one that influences Hitler the most.
Right.
I hate to keep bringing him up, but it's just
part of the story. It's Germany, and it's German culture and German entwined with German history and German politics.
Yeah.
And it has extended itself into world politics because, to a degree, because of its cultural political thrust. Wagner was a serious cultural philosopher, and his theories about and he wrote a lot about it. His theories about economics and justice and so he put it on the line. Like we said, in 1848, he got run out of the country. There was an arrest warrant out for him.
Yes, he was on the lam.
He was laying low.
Yep.
And could have been arrested, in prison, possibly shot.
Yep. Or put on the wheel, broken on the wheel. That was still happening.
Yeah. So after Rienzi, what we get the Flying Dutchman, which is to this day a super hit.
I love it.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Now, this is the question I have for you, because I don't know, but it seems to me like he sets the paradigm of the sea-going orchestra, what that sounds like, with those arpeggiated swells in the overture. I don't know that it had been done before that, with the Hebrides, maybe. I
was going to say Mendelssohn.
Yeah, Mendelssohn. Don't tell Wagner that.
Tintagel's Cave and things like that.
Calm Sea, Prosperous Voyage.
Yeah, I know. See, Mendelssohn being Jewish, Wagner would have resented him terribly.
He resented him as an artist.
But he resented everybody who wasn't Wagner. It didn't matter whether really you were, which is, as you said, all the more interesting that he really liked Carmen.
Yes.
He thought Bizet just nailed it with that.
Yeah.
So no, but he would have he would have resented the influence. But I mean, it might have been there. But on the scale on which he did it, you can smell the salt.
Yeah.
In the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah, and it's the first. So those early operas from Dutchman on, there's in my opinion, a consistent theme in Flying Dutchman, and then next is Lohengrin or Tannhäuser, and then Lohengrin. And that is the flawed male character needing to be redeemed by the female character. So Cinsa has to redeem the Dutchman. She has to love him for who he is in order to break the curse.
Right.
In Tannhäuser, he's obviously been having a time on the sex mountain with Venus. And Elizabeth comes in and protects him and saves him in the second act, which is a phenomenal scene of opera. It's incredible. But the same thing, she's sacrificing herself to redeem Tannhäuser. And then Lohengrin, Elsa has to, it gets more interesting in Lohengrin, the theme, because now Lohengrin is asking her to not ask, like it's saying, you can't ask me my name. Meaning, I want you to know me and love me for who I am, not for where I come from and for who my father is. So he's looking for someone to, it's like, I don't know.
And she doesn't do it. And he ends up, he catches the last swan out of town.
Yeah, and so the female character is destroyed in her attempt to redeem this flawed masculine character in those first three. I call them the first three operas because they're in the standard repertoire.
They're the first three of the standard. So the standard Wagner repertoire is Dutchman, Tannhäuser, Lohengrin, and then Tristan.
Well, I think he starts the Ring before Tristan.
Well, but the Ring doesn't come into its own until 1876 with its.
So then you would say Tristan,
so it was a 10-year project.
Meistersinger,
Tristan,
the
Meistersinger,
Ring, Parsifal.
And so just going through them quickly, Dutchman has so much atmosphere the spooky gloom of the ghost ship and the ghost crew, and the you know, it's got great sea shanty stuff. You know, Steuermann hilft zu uns, Steuermann lass die Wacht, ho he ha, Steuermann Herr, trink mit uns. It's just great stuff.
Husa hey,
hayo ho hey, husa hey, hallo hey, husa hey, hallo hey, ho ho hey hey ha hey, komm und trink mit uns.
Here's a little.
Come on, let's do the whole opera.
Let's do it.
So
there's a fun little aside. I got so frustrated with Yahoo in trying to get a username for my email. I finally put in at this time. I finally put in Husasa hey, and it worked. I was like, all right.
Husasa hey is like that's Wagner German for hey nani no, you know, or la 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 la,
or doo wop doo wah,
doo wah doo wah, And so you've got this great atmosphere. You know, when we did it in San Diego, then the ghost crew appears. They're having a great time. The ghost crew appears and scares the living hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
And at that point, we all sing how scared we are, and it was get off stage. Clear the stage immediately. And I was tasked with running across from stage left to stage right, straight across the stage and into the wings. They knew I was coming, and we all had these metal lanterns with glass plates in them and everything. And somebody was holding theirs right there. I was hightailing it across the stage like that with my head down, and the corner of my skull hit the corner of somebody's lantern that they were holding there, and just shattered the glass all over everything and knocked that metal lantern somewhere off stage. Gosh. And do you know, I never had a mark, not a scratch, not a thing. I was so concentrated on Wagner's scene.
You're very boneheaded.
That I just went right through it. It was like giving a karate chop to a concrete block, you know. And that's what Wagner can do for you. You know, you can go through concrete walls with Wagner.
Same scene when I was in it. You know, the next time that came around, one of our dear friends decided he would curl up in the embryo position, downstage center. Right? Like this is his big character moment.
He's so scared.
And this other guy who's, I don't know if you ever knew him, came over and kicked him. Like, come on, we're supposed to be exiting.
Get off. Get the hook. No. So, I think we're having a little fun this evening. I thought I saw that. Was it very appropriate that we're talking about the spooky scene
and we got some thunder.
You know, and die Frist ist the Dutchman comes ashore and says the 40-year term of his wandering is over if he's allowed to go ashore and see if he can find someone to love him. And this is a very cinematic opera. It's in 2 acts and it can be done straight through. And it takes each act is about an hour, and you can do it like a movie, and I think that shortchanges the audience. But the point is, it has forward thrust and such dramatic direction that once you start it, you can drive it right through, and the audience is gripped if it's a good vocal performance. So then you got Tannhäuser, which is a wonderful, really a very lyric opera in a lot of ways.
Very lyric. The role of Tannhäuser is a nightmare.
Wolfram, it is. But Wolfram is actually a role I could sing.
Yeah,
it's not a Helden baritone opera. No. You don't have. It's lyric, and that's a remarkable thing. So he was capable of writing very sensitively.
Yeah, Tannhäuser though has.
Well, it's those repeated high A's. In the finale of Act 2.
Yes.
And that's the one that did Ramon Vinay in.
Oh, really?
He'd made the transition from I
love him.
Baritone to Helden tenor.
Yeah.
And then or was it Ramon Vinay? No, who was the other guy? The worked with Toscanini on Otello.
I don't know.
Famous baritone who made the switch to Helden tenor. I'll come up with his name in a minute. And he was managing that really, really well. And then someone pointed out to him how difficult it was. Oh, like literally, and it did his head in.
Yeah.
He had never thought of it as difficult.
He got the yips.
And he got the yips. So, but Tannhäuser at the end, when the pilgrim staff blooms and everything, it can really.
So I'm going to see it in L.A. And here's the thing about Tannhäuser that
If you like operas about the Middle Ages,
that's where I'm
Tannhäuser.
going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. So Wagner is setting it in the Middle Ages on purpose. If it's not in the Middle Ages, the whole thing makes no sense.
Right.
Because after the Reformation, no one's going to Rome from Germany
Right.
to get anything from the Pope. Which
No, that's
is
true. It's a pilgrim opera.
It is, and it needs to be left in the Middle Ages so that it makes sense. It makes no sense the way, because Christianity, the central themes besides the female and male is this paganism with Venus, and then the Christianity.
The redemptive element,
Yes.
which,
and the conflict
faith.
of those which meet in the second act when he's like, oh, you like pure, like agape love? I like erotic love. And he just rubs their faces, and so it makes sense in the Middle Ages that they would be horrified by that.
Right, right.
Any later, no
Which
one
is why-
cares. They're like, yeah, I like fucking too.
Regio Theater just destroys the motivation for actually presenting the drama.
Right. It destroys
If
all
you
character
put it-
motivation.
If you put it in and Wagner would never have countenanced that. He would never have countenanced them messing with, his and I think it's completely wrong to do that as well. I mean, I really when a composer and librettist set an opera like that, they're setting it for a reason.
Yes.
In its period.
Yep.
And it needs to be left there. So then you've got Lohengrin.
Also Middle Ages.
One of some of the most exciting music in Wagner, the Act 1 finale of Lohengrin. Wait a minute, let's hear somebody else do it.
Now the arrival of Lohengrin in Act 1. But there's so much force and direction, and everyone's losing their minds, and then it just.
Oh, I know it. But
then he turns up stage and he sings away from the It's wonderful.
It's magic.
And then
the whole thing is absolutely.
The whole thing becomes this prayer-like, in awe that the chorus, sings this godly man who's arrived at our shores, who is this, and then the first act, the whole thing is fantastic.
It really is. But
Rhein is on. Da, 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 da. This, the king sings.
I just have incredible memories of that Act 1 finale. It's just like sticking your finger in an electrical socket to be a part of it. Wow. The wonderful version on Deutsche Grammophon with James King, that's a great recording.
Yeah.
That's a great recording.
James King's underrated.
So, and then...
Yeah, the second act, same. The procession from the church, and then Ortrud interrupts it. But the way that chorus starts, what is the? I can't remember the text. Oh well. But then the way it builds and builds and builds and grows and grows and grows and grows, and then there's this massive descending line in the horns, and then it gets interrupted, kind of like Tristan in the second act when they're about to consummate their relationship. But
this is the PG-13 version of.
And then Ortrud gets another great moment in the finale when she comes up and she's like,
Yes,
old gods live.
I remember Pauline Tinsley turned around. They had her downstage left, and we were on this very steeply raked stage, and it was her birthday when we were rehearsing. And so when she turns around and delivers that curse, she turned around, like this, and the whole chorus to a person just went like that, and we all fell down, and she just like broke up laughing, and then we sang "Happy Birthday" to her. Right. But no, it's mad. No wonder Mad King Ludwig fell in love with that opera.
Yeah,
he fell in love with Wagner for doing it. He's like, dude, I'll pay for anything you do.
So Wagner was the realm. So the people who were into comic books and fantasy and all that ilk now were into Wagner.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's where it was. That's where you had to go to a performance. You couldn't just,
He was popularizing medieval culture.
Giving you that vision that life can be grander than you're living it.
Yeah. No,
you can lose yourself in it.
His operas are on a scale with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You've got everything from gigantic mountains to dragons to, and ring wraiths and scary chases, and you've got everything. The whole scale.
Nibelungans.
And Nibelungs, and and orcs, and well, that would actually be a really great sell nowadays. Do the Lord of the Rings. Do the Ring of the Nibelung in Lord of the Rings character costumes and stuff. Do it a Lord of the Rings ring.
Right.
People would love it, which is actually much closer to Wagner's vision than what they're getting. He was giving you the Norse mythology, and people. I think that deserves to be seen. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we got those three. We got then Tristan.